The night was calm over Earth, but in the silence of space, something unusual happened. A signal appeared, weak at first, like a whisper carried across the stars. At first, no one noticed it. The machines of the human satellites caught the strange sound, and the computers marked it as simple background noise. But the sound grew clearer, and soon the scientists listening could hear a voice. It was a girl's voice. She was not speaking in alien tones, not in some strange language that no human could understand. She was speaking in plain, clear words. Her voice was trembling, filled with fear. "Help me," she said. "Please, help me." Those who heard it froze in their seats. This was not a normal broadcast. The voice sounded desperate, like someone trapped in the darkest corner of the universe. The message repeated again and again. "They have taken me. I'm in the Skyhunter's nest. I cannot escape. Please, if anyone hears me, help me. If you do not come, I will not survive the night." The scientists called in the military. The military called in the government. Soon a secret meeting was held in a dark room underground. The leaders sat around a long table staring at the recordings. The girl's voice filled the room. No one spoke for several minutes. They all listened. Some shook their heads. Some frowned. A few whispered to each other in low voices. One general finally spoke. "This could be a trap. The aliens may be trying to lure us out." But another replied, "Listen carefully. Does that sound like a trap? She sounds too real." Too scared, the room grew heavy with silence. They all knew the risk. The Skyhunter's nest was not a name they had ever heard before. Was it a ship? Was it a place? No one knew. Yet the girl's voice seemed honest, and her fear touched the hearts of even the coldest officers. The recordings were studied again. Strange patterns of energy surrounded the voice. The scientists explained that the signal came from far above the Earth, from something massive orbiting in the shadows. The thing was alive, almost like a predator hiding in the dark sky. At last, the leaders made a decision. A small team would be sent to investigate. They would go in secret without the world knowing. If this was a trap, then only a few lives would be lost. If it was real, then maybe they could save her. The team chosen was small but skilled, a pilot, a soldier, an engineer, and a scientist. Together, they boarded a sleek black ship that was hidden under layers of secrecy. Their mission was simple: follow the signal, find the source, and confirm the truth. As the ship rose into the sky, the crew sat in silence. The voice kept playing in their headsets. "Please, I need you. The nest is alive. It watches me. It feeds on me. Please hurry." The soldier clenched his jaw. "If this is real, we cannot leave her there." The scientist adjusted her glasses, eyes fixed on the glowing screens. "The patterns, they are not normal. The nest is not just a machine. It is something more." Hours passed as the ship moved higher and higher, leaving Earth behind. Soon the planet was only a blue and white ball far below. Ahead, in the blackness of space, they saw something. At first it looked like a shadow. Then it grew larger, its shape becoming clear. The Skyhunter's nest. It was vast, larger than any ship humans had ever built. Its body stretched like wings across the stars, metallic feathers sharp and glimmering. Its surface pulsed faintly as if it was breathing. It was not just a ship. It was alive. The pilot swallowed hard. "That thing is waiting for us," suddenly alarm screamed. The nest had locked onto their ship. Weapons brighter than fire aimed at them. The crew braced for destruction. But then the voice of the girl returned, louder than before. "Quick, turn left. There is a safe path. Follow my voice, hurry!" The pilot obeyed without question. He steered hard, and their small ship shot past the burning lights. At the last second, the weapons went silent. They had entered through a hidden opening, just as the girl said. Inside, darkness surrounded them. The walls looked alive, moving slowly, like the inside of a giant beast. The crew could hear faint sounds echoing, metal groaning, whispers in the dark. The soldier raised his weapon, ready to fire, and then two glowing eyes appeared in the black. The team froze. Their hearts pounded. The girl's voice returned, not through the speakers this time, but from the shadows ahead. "You came. You really came." But before anyone could answer, the nest itself seemed to awaken. The walls trembled, the air grew heavy, and an unearthly hum shook the floor beneath their feet. The ship was alive, and it knew they were here. The rescue had only just begun. The inside of the Skyhunter's nest was darker than night. The small human ship floated slowly through the living tunnel, its lights cutting thin beams through the shadows. The walls pulsed faintly as if the ship itself had veins and blood running under its surface. Every sound was muffled, swallowed by the strange silence. The four humans sat frozen in their seats. They had all seen alien structures before, ruins on distant moons, old derelict ships, but never something alive like this. This was not built. This was grown. It was a predator and they were inside its stomach. The soldier gripped his weapon tighter. "This place is wrong," he whispered. The scientist, eyes fixed on the shifting walls, murmured, "It's not just a place. It's aware of us. It knows we're here." The pilot kept the controls steady, but sweat dripped down his forehead. Every movement of the ship felt heavy, as if they were swimming through something thicker than space. He glanced at the engineer who was scanning the readings. "Anything?" he asked. The engineer frowned. "The systems are confused. It's like the nest is scrambling our sensors. I can't tell if we're moving forward or in circles." Then the voice came again, the girl's voice. "You found me," she said, her words trembling with relief. "I thought you would never come." The humans looked at one another. Her voice was not in their radios anymore. It was in the air, echoing around them. The soldier raised his weapon toward the sound. "Show yourself," he ordered. From the darkness ahead, two glowing eyes appeared again. Slowly, a figure stepped forward. It was a girl. Her skin was pale with a faint silver glow, as if she carried the light of the stars inside her. Her hair floated softly, moving like it was underwater. Her face was almost human, but her eyes, they were too bright, too sharp, like twin moons burning in the dark. The soldier kept his weapon raised. "Who are you?" "I am a prisoner," she said softly. "The nest caught me. It feeds on me. I begged for help. And you heard me." The scientist stepped closer, ignoring the soldier's warning hand. "You speak our language, how?" The girl lowered her eyes. "I learned. I have listened to your people for a long time. I never thought humans would come." Her voice broke as she added, "No one ever comes." The silence in the chamber grew heavy. The pilot finally asked the question on everyone's mind. "What is this place? What is the nest?" The girl looked around, her eyes filled with fear. "It is alive. It is a trap. It does not just capture bodies, it captures minds. It makes you see what you fear most. It feeds on fear like food." Her words made the crew uneasy. Already, each of them had heard faint whispers in the darkness. The soldier thought he had heard his brother's voice earlier. The pilot thought he saw his dead wife's face in the shadows. They all wondered if the girl spoke the truth or if she was part of the illusion. Suddenly, the floor shook. The walls trembled and the ship groaned like a beast awakening. The girl's eyes widened. "It knows you are here. It will try to break you. Do not listen to the voices. Do not trust the walls. If you do, you will never escape." The soldier stepped forward, his voice sharp. "Why should we trust you?" Her glowing eyes turned toward him, filled with sadness. "Because I am like you. I want to escape. And without you, I cannot." Before he could reply, the tunnel ahead shifted. The walls closed in and twisted, forming new shapes. The ship's sensors screamed in alarm. Corridors split in 3 directions, each one opening like a hungry mouth. The engineer gasped. "It's trying to trap us in the maze." The pilot looked at the girl. "Which way?" She lifted her hand and pointed. "This path. The other 2 are illusions. If you take them, you will never return." Trusting her, the pilot steered into the path she chose. The walls pulsed angrily, shaking around them. It was like flying into the throat of a monster. Then the whispers began. Voices filled the cockpit, speaking directly into their minds. The soldier heard his dead brother calling. "Come with me. I'm waiting for you." The pilot heard his wife crying. "Why did you leave me behind?" The engineer heard his own voice screaming at him, warning him that he would fail. And the scientist heard nothing but silence, a silence so deep. It felt like the universe itself had abandoned her. The crew struggled to stay focused. The girl shouted above the noise, "Do not listen. They are lies. The nest shows you what you fear most. That is how it controls you." The soldier closed his eyes and gritted his teeth. He forced himself to ignore the voice. The pilot's hands shook, but he held onto the controls. The engineer muttered prayers under his breath. Finally, the ship broke free of the whispers, shooting into a vast chamber inside the nest. The space was enormous, filled with strange structures like black towers rising from the floor. Strange lights flickered at the top of the towers, blinking like stars trapped inside cages. The girl whispered, "The others are here. The nest has caught many before you, but only humans can fight it, because you are not part of its system. The soldier lowered his weapon slowly, but his eyes stayed hard. Then tell us how to kill it. The girl's glowing eyes turned toward the towers and her voice grew heavy with dread. You cannot kill it, not yet. First you must survive its game. The chamber lights flickered, the walls groaned, and the sky hunter's nest, alive and watching, began to play. The chamber pulsed with a low hum like the beating of a giant heart. The walls of the sky hunter's nest glowed faintly, throwing pale shadows across the black towers. The human crew stood still, weapons ready, while the alien girl remained close to them. Her silver glowing skin reflected the dim light, and her luminous eyes never stopped scanning the shifting walls around them. The soldier narrowed his eyes at her. If you are really a prisoner, tell us the truth. Who are you? And why should we trust you? The girl's voice was calm, but it carried sadness. My name does not matter. I was taken from my world many cycles ago. The nest hunts across the stars. It traps people, feeds on them, and grows stronger. I am only one of many. The scientist stepped closer, curiosity burning in her eyes. You said it feeds on fear. How does it do that? The girl raised her hand and the wall seemed to tremble at her words. The nest is alive. It enters your mind. It whispers. It makes you believe what is not real. It creates illusions from your darkest memories and your deepest fears. When you give in to the fear it takes you, it drinks your mind like water. The pilot frowned. And yet you resist it. Her glowing eyes softened. I have learned to fight, but I am weak. I cannot resist forever. Alone I will fail. But humans, you are different. The nest cannot fully understand you. Your willpower burns too bright. That is why I called you. You are the only hope. The crew exchanged tense glances. Could they trust her? Or was she simply another trap designed by the nest itself? The engineer whispered, she could be lying. How do we know she isn't part of this thing? As if answering, the chamber shifted. The towers groaned, and suddenly the space filled with sounds, screams, cries, whispers overlapping. The voices of countless prisoners echoed through the walls. Some begged for mercy. Others laughed with madness. A storm of fear pressed in on them. The girl winced, clutching her head. It begins again. The nest tests you. It will not let you walk free. You must face what you fear most. The soldier raised his weapon, scanning the shadows. But then a shape emerged before him. His brother, dead for years, stepped out from the darkness, smiling. Come with me, the illusion said. You don't belong here. You belong with me. The soldier froze. His grip on the weapon shook. His breath caught in his chest. For a moment, the soldier's hard eyes softened with pain. The girl shouted, No, that is not real. It is the nest. But the illusion stepped closer, reaching out. Don't you miss me, brother? Don't you want peace? The soldier roared and pulled the trigger. The bullets passed through the image, tearing only empty air. His brother's ghost vanished into smoke. The soldier's hands trembled, but he forced his jaw tight. Not this time, he muttered. The pilot was next. A figure appeared before him. His wife, pale and broken the same way she had died years ago. She whispered, You left me. Why didn't you save me? Tears filled the pilot's eyes. His hand slipped from the controls. I tried, he said, voice breaking. The girl grabbed his arm, her glowing eyes locking onto his. Look at me. This is not her. She is gone. The nest lies. Fight it! The pilot shook his head, closing his eyes. When he opened them again, the illusion was gone. He gripped the controls tighter. His voice shook, but it was steady enough. Not this time. You will not break me. The scientist staggered back, clutching her ears. For her there was no image, no sound. Just silence. Endless silence so deep it felt like she was drowning in emptiness. She fell to her knees, gasping. I can't hear anything. I can't feel anything. The girl knelt beside her, placing a hand on her shoulder. That is your fear, the fear of nothing, the fear of being forgotten. But you are not alone. Hear my voice. You are here. You are alive. Slowly, the scientist's breathing calmed. The silence faded. She nodded weakly. The illusions vanished one by one, but the chamber did not grow calm. Instead, the black towers began to pulse with crimson light. The nest had tested them, and now it grew angry. The hum of its living walls deepened, turning into a growl that shook the ground beneath their feet. The engineer's hand shook as he pointed at the towers. What are those? What's inside them? The girl's voice was heavy. Prisoners. Captured minds. Some still alive. others only shadows. If you wish to survive, you must reach the core of the nest. That is where its true heart beats. But the path is dangerous. The nest will not allow you to pass. The soldier's voice was hard. Then show us the way. Her glowing eyes lingered on him, sorrowful yet determined. If I lead you, you must promise me something. The pilot asked, what? The girl's voice trembled. Promise me that if you find a way to destroy the nest, you will not leave me behind. The chamber fell silent again. The humans looked at her, uncertain. Could they save her? Or would she only doom them all? Before anyone could speak, the ground split open. From the cracks, dark shapes rose, twisted forms of the humans themselves, shadows wearing their faces, copies made of smoke and anger. The girl whispered, "The nest has begun its game. You must fight yourselves." The chamber shook as the dark figures stepped forward. They were copies of the human crew, twisted shadows with hollow eyes and cruel smiles. Each one moved like a mirror, copying the human's gestures but with more speed and aggression. The soldier aimed his weapon at the dark double of himself. The shadow soldier grinned, lifting an identical gun. "You cannot shoot me," it whispered in a voice that sounded exactly like his own. "I am you." The soldier pulled the trigger, but the bullets passed straight through the figure. The shadow only laughed. The soldier gritted his teeth. "Then I'll fight another way." At the same time, the pilot faced his own reflection. The shadow pilot wore the same uniform, but its face was twisted with rage. "You killed her," it snarled. "You killed your wife. You never saved her." The words pierced the pilot's heart. His hand shook as he tried to stay focused. The scientist stood frozen as her shadow stepped closer. The figure was silent, its empty eyes staring at her with cold judgment. She trembled, whispering, "This is what I fear. Being nothing." The engineer backed away as his double appeared with wild eyes. The shadow smirked. "You are weak. You always fail. They will all die because of you." The alien girl stepped between them, her glowing skin shining brighter. "Listen to me," she shouted. "These are not real. They are your fears given shape. You cannot fight them with weapons. You must fight them with will." The soldier dropped his gun and clenched his fists. He stared into his shadow's hollow eyes. "You're not me," he growled. "You're what I left behind. I am stronger than you." The shadow lunged at him, but the soldier did not move. He stood firm, unshaken. The shadow screamed, then burst into smoke. The pilot gasped as his double whispered cruel words about his wife. He closed his eyes, remembering her real smile, her real laugh. "You are not her," he said firmly. "She would never blame me. She loved me." The shadow twisted with fury, but it could not hold form. It shattered into dark mist. The scientist fell to her knees as her silent double towered over her. She felt its emptiness pressing into her heart. But then she heard the girl's voice again. "You are not forgotten. You are here. You matter." The scientist raised her head and whispered, "I am not nothing. I am alive." Her shadow broke apart in silence. The engineer shook as his double circled him. Its voice hissed in his ear, "You will fail. You always fail." Tears filled his eyes, but he shouted back, "I may fail, but I try, and that makes me stronger than you." The shadow howled, then vanished like dust in the wind. The chamber fell quiet again. Only the hum of the nest remained, deep and angry. The girl looked at them, her luminous eyes proud. "You did it. You resisted. Few ever passed this trial." But the relief was short-lived. The ground trembled and the walls began to shift. The towers around them groaned as if alive, bending and twisting. The chamber stretched into a long corridor, its shape changing before their eyes. The pilot cursed under his breath. "It's turning into a maze," the girl nodded. "This is the true trap. The living maze, once inside it never lets you go. It learns your mind and builds paths from your thoughts. If you doubt, you are lost forever." The crew entered the corridor, their footsteps echoing against the living walls. Every turn looked the same. Pulsing veins ran across the surface, glowing faintly like trails of light. The walls seemed to breathe, moving slightly with every step. After a while, they realized something terrible. The path behind them had closed. They could not go back. The soldier muttered, "It wants to keep us walking until we break." The girl whispered, "Yes, it feeds on despair, but you must not give in. Walk with purpose, or it will turn your mind against you." Hours seemed to pass. The corridors bent and twisted endlessly. Sometimes the crew thought they heard footsteps behind them. Other times they thought they saw figures moving in the distance. The whispers returned, faint but steady, trying to push them into madness. The scientist pressed her hands to her ears. It's too much. It's inside my head. The girl placed her glowing hand on the scientist's shoulder. Stay with me. Focus on my voice. I will guide you. Suddenly, the corridor split into 3 paths. Each one glowed faintly, pulsing with a red light. The crew stopped, unsure. The engineer scanned the paths with his tools. They all looked the same. I can't tell which is real. The girl closed her eyes, listening. Then she pointed to the center path. This one. The others are lies. The soldier looked at her sharply. How do we know you're not leading us into a trap? Her eyes filled with sorrow. Because if you die, I die too. My life is bound to yours now. If you trust me, we live together. If you doubt me, we are both lost. Before the soldier could reply, the walls of the side corridors opened. From within, monstrous shapes slithered out, giant limbs of the nest itself dripping with black liquid. They stretched toward the humans, blocking their escape. The pilot shouted, "Move! We have no choice!" The team ran into the center path as the monstrous limbs struck down behind them, crushing the floor where they once stood. The corridor shook violently, but it stayed open. The girl's voice rang out, urgent and strong. "Faster! The nest knows we resist. It will try harder to break us now." The humans sprinted into the endless maze, their hearts pounding, shadows chasing them from every side. And deep within the nest, something stirred, the sound of a heartbeat louder than before. The nest was waiting for them. The maze stretched endlessly, each corridor bending and shifting as if alive. The humans ran, their breaths heavy, their footsteps echoing on the pulsing floor. Behind them, the walls closed and opened like jaws, snapping shut only moments after they passed. The Sky Hunter's nest was not just trapping them. It was hunting them. The soldier stopped suddenly, pressing his back against the wall. "We can't keep running," he said through clenched teeth. "This thing is toying with us. If we don't fight back, it'll crush us sooner or later." The pilot wiped sweat from his face, his hands still trembling from the illusions he had fought earlier. "Weapons don't work, we tried. The shadows, the walls, it just absorbs everything." The engineer shook his head. "No, not everything. Look at it." He pointed at the wall where their passage had left a faint scorch mark from the soldier's earlier shot. It was already healing, veins of glowing tissue crawling over the damage. But for a few seconds, the wound had stayed open. "It heals, yes, but that means it can bleed." The scientist's eyes lit with sudden realization. If it can bleed, it can be hurt. The girl stepped forward, her silver glowing skin throwing faint light across their tired faces. "Yes," she whispered. "The nest can be harmed, but not with bullets, not with fire. It fears what it cannot understand. And it cannot understand human will." The soldier frowned. "Human will? That's not a weapon." Her eyes locked on his. "It is the only weapon. You resist its illusions. You refuse to give in. That is what hurts it. That is what makes it weak." The walls around them groaned as if the nest had heard her words. The floor trembled beneath their boots and whispers swarmed the air like 1,000 voices speaking at once. The pilot gritted his teeth. "Then let's give it something to fear." They pressed forward deeper into the maze. This time they did not run blindly. They walked with purpose, refusing to show panic. The walls shifted, but the humans stayed steady. When whispers grew louder, they ignored them. When shadows reached out with long arms, the soldier swung his weapon, not to kill, but to declare strength. And every time they resisted, the nest groaned, the walls shaking as if in pain. The girl smiled faintly. "You see? It is not invincible. You are breaking its hold, but the nest did not give up. It fought back harder." The corridor opened into another vast chamber, larger than the last. Towers of black stone rose high above, their tops glowing with red lights. The air was thick, heavy, and alive. At the center of the chamber, something pulsed, a giant beating crystal that lit the room with a sick red glow. The scientist gasped. "The heart. It must be." The girl shook her head. "No, only a fragment. The true core lies deeper. This is its guard, its shield." Suddenly the ground erupted. From beneath, creatures burst forth, horrid beasts with twisted limbs and faces that shifted constantly, as if made from the memories of the dead. They roared with voices that sounded almost human. The soldier raised his weapon. "Finally." Something solid, the humans fought. The soldier fired burst after burst, forcing the beasts back. The pilot used the ship's portable cannons, burning holes into the creatures before the walls healed them. The engineer set explosive charges, creating blasts that shook the chamber. For every beast destroyed, another crawled from the floor. But the humans refused to stop. They shouted over the noise, their voices strong. Each word was defiance, each step was resistance. The girl's voice rose above the chaos. Yes, this is how you fight it. Not just with weapons, but with strength inside you. Show it, you will not break. The soldier roared as he smashed his gun's stock into a beast's face. The pilot shouted his wife's name as he blasted another into ash. The scientist screamed at the silence in her head, refusing to let it swallow her. The engineer cried out, "I am not weak," as he set off another explosion that tore through the chamber. And for the first time, the nest screamed. The walls shuddered, the red lights flickered, and the beasts stumbled as if in pain. The giant crystal pulsed wildly, cracks forming across its surface. The humans had struck not only the creatures but the nest itself. But victory was short-lived. The walls around the chamber began to close. The floor cracked open and the crystal's glow spread like fire across the ground. The girl's eyes widened with fear. It is angry now. It will not let you leave alive. The soldier turned to her, breathing hard. Good, let it come. But then the crystal spoke. Not in whispers, not in illusions, but in a voice that shook the chamber like thunder. You cannot destroy me. If I die, she dies too. The humans froze, their weapons still aimed at the glowing heart. The girl looked at them, her luminous eyes filled with fear and shame. The pilot lowered his weapon slowly. What does it mean? The girl's voice trembled. It is true. My life is bound to the nest. If you kill it now, you will kill me too. The chamber fell silent except for the slow, steady beat of the crystal. It pulsed like a living thing, daring them to make a choice. The soldier's grip tightened on his weapon. His eyes burned with fury, but his hands trembled with doubt. The nest's laughter echoed through the chamber, deep and cruel. The humans had finally learned the price of resistance. The chamber trembled under the weight of the nest's cruel laughter. The crystal heart pulsed brighter, its cracks glowing like veins of fire. The humans stood frozen, their weapons aimed but their will uncertain. The alien girl's silver-lit face was pale, her luminous eyes filled with fear. You see now, she whispered, her voice breaking. I am bound to it. My life is its chain. If you destroy the heart, you destroy me too. The soldier clenched his jaw, anger and doubt tearing at him. Why didn't you tell us this before? Her eyes lowered. Because if I did, you would not have come. Silence filled the chamber. The soldier's finger hovered near the trigger. The pilot's breathing was heavy, torn between duty and mercy. The scientist's mind raced, searching for logic in an illogical trap. The engineer whispered, There has to be another way. But the nest did not wait for their decision. The ground split open and black tendrils burst from the cracks. They lashed toward the humans like whips, each one sharp enough to cut steel. The team scattered, firing at the tendrils, dodging as the chamber shook violently. The girl shouted, Run! This is only a fragment. The true core lies deeper. If you want to destroy the nest, you must face it at the center. The soldier fired one last burst into the crystal, shattering part of its surface. The nest screamed, a sound that shook the marrow in their bones. As the cracks spread, the walls opened into another tunnel, a path leading deeper into the living ship. Move, the pilot shouted. They ran into the new corridor as the chamber collapsed behind them, towers crumbling and beasts shrieking as they were swallowed by the nest's fury. The path closed the moment they passed through, trapping them further inside. The tunnel ahead stretched endlessly, glowing faintly with red veins. The air grew heavier with each step. The scientist clutched her chest, gasping. It's pressing down on us. Like the ship itself is crushing our lungs. The girl walked beside her, her light shimmering faintly. The deeper we go, the stronger it becomes. The nest is not just a ship. It is a hive of minds, and at the core, all voices become one. That is where its power lives. That is where you must strike, the soldier growled. And if striking it kills you? The girl's gaze was steady now, though sorrowful. Then you must choose between me and the freedom of countless others. That is the price of war. They pushed forward until the tunnel opened into a vast chamber unlike any before. It was round and endless, the walls covered with thousands of glowing orbs. Each orb flickered with faces of prisoners caught in eternal illusion, their minds trapped like insects in amber. Some screamed, some wept, some laughed madly. The pilot stepped back, horror on his face. "God, all of them are alive?" The girl nodded. "Their bodies are gone, but their minds remain. The nest feeds on them." At the center of the chamber stood the final core, a massive crystal sphere, larger than any building on Earth, glowing with a deep, blood-red light. Its surface pulsed like a beating heart. Every time it throbbed, the voices in the orbs cried out in unison. The soldier raised his weapon. "That's it. That's where we end this." But as they stepped closer, the chamber rippled. From the shadows around the core, shapes emerged. Not beasts this time, not illusions, but copies of the crew more perfect than before. Each double stepped forward, wearing the same faces, the same uniforms, even the same scars. The soldier's double smirked. "You think you're strong, but I am the part of you that never doubts, never hesitates. You will always be weaker than me." The pilot's double sneered. "You carry guilt like a chain. I carry rage. And rage is stronger." The scientist's double whispered coldly. "You fear emptiness, but I am the silence itself." The engineer's double laughed. "You fear failure. I am the proof of it. I will succeed where you never could." The real crew tightened their grips on their weapons, their hearts pounding. The pilot muttered, "This isn't a fight with guns." The girl's voice rang out, trembling yet strong. "No, this is the last test. The nest forces you to fight yourselves. If you fail, it will consume your will, and you will become part of it forever." The soldier stepped forward, glaring at his shadow self. "Then we fight." The doubles attacked, moving faster, stronger, crueler. Every strike felt like fighting their own souls. The chamber shook with the clash. Steel against steel, fists against fists, shouts against shouts. But as the humans struggled, the final core pulsed brighter, feeding on the chaos. The orbs around the chamber glowed with the screams of trapped minds. The nest's voice echoed from the walls, deep and merciless. "You cannot win. You are fragile. You are fear. You are mine." The soldier was knocked to his knees, his shadow pressing a blade to his throat. The pilot was pinned against the wall by his double. The scientist's arms trembled as her silent twin forced her down. The engineer's copy whispered cruel truths into his ear as it struck him. The girl's eyes blazed with silver light. She shouted over the chaos, her voice shaking the chamber. "Humans, remember who you are! You are not shadows. You are not fear. You are the fire that the nest cannot consume." The soldier looked up, blood on his face, but his eyes burned with fury. The pilot clenched his fists, ignoring the pain of his guilt. The scientist found her voice and screamed into the silence. The engineer forced himself to stand despite the shadow's strength. Together they rose again. The final core pulsed, brighter and faster, sensing its prey slipping from its grasp. The nest roared, a sound that shook the entire ship. The girl pointed toward the crystal sphere, her voice ringing like a bell. "This is your chance. Strike the heart!" The humans charged forward, their shadows chasing close behind. The core loomed before them, pulsing like the blood of the universe. But as they raised their weapons, the nest's voice thundered one final time. "If you kill me, she dies with me." The humans froze mid-strike. The girl's luminous eyes met theirs, filled with both hope and despair. The chamber shook violently, and the decision hung in the air like a blade. The chamber of the final core trembled as if the whole nest was alive with fury. The glowing red heart pulsed faster, each beat like thunder shaking the walls. The voices of thousands of trapped minds echoed through the chamber, crying, screaming, begging. The humans stood ready to strike, but their hands froze as the nest's words thundered once again. "If you kill me, the girl dies with me." The soldier's weapon shook in his hands. He looked at the glowing crystal, then at the alien girl standing beside them. Her silver-lit face was calm now, though her luminous eyes carried sorrow. She nodded slowly. "It is true. My life is tied to the nest I was captured so long ago. My spirit is bound to its heart. If you destroy it, you destroy me." The pilot clenched his fists. "No, there has to be another way. We can't just—" "There is no other way," the girl interrupted gently. "The nest cannot be contained. It cannot be tamed. If you leave it alive, it will hunt your world. It will devour your people one by one until Earth is nothing but silence. You must choose, save me, or save your kind." The soldier's jaw tightened. He had seen too many battles, too many lives lost. He knew the truth in her words, even if he hated it. Sometimes war doesn't give you clean choices, he muttered. The scientist's voice trembled. But she called us. She trusted us. If we kill her, what does that make us? The chamber grew darker as the nest pushed harder, its tendrils lashing out, striking the ground near them. The humans barely dodged, their shadows still circling, waiting for weakness. The core pulsed brighter, feeding on their hesitation. The nest roared with cruel laughter. You see, humans are weak. They cannot sacrifice what they love. They cannot choose. The girl's voice rose above the chaos, steady and strong. You are wrong. Humans can choose. That is their strength. Even if it breaks their hearts, they will do what must be done. Her eyes turned to the soldier, then to the others. Do not hesitate. Strike true. End it, the pilot's voice cracked. You'll die. Her glowing eyes softened with something like a smile. Then let me die free. The soldier raised his weapon, his heart pounding. For a moment he saw the girl not as an alien, not as a prisoner, but as a comrade. Someone who had fought beside them, who had guided them through hell. His chest tightened with grief, but his voice was steady when he spoke. For Earth. The others nodded. Tears in their eyes, but fire in their hearts. Together, they turned their weapons on the final core. The shadows lunged at them, screaming with their own voices. The soldier wrestled his double to the ground, pinning it with pure rage. The pilot slammed his double into the wall, refusing to let guilt control him. The scientist screamed into the silence of her shadow, shattering it with her voice. The engineer faced his dark self and roared, I am not a failure. The shadows dissolved, howling as they vanished into smoke. The humans stood united, their will burning like fire. The girl raised her hands, her silver light shining brighter than ever. Do it now. Strike the heart! The humans unleashed everything they had. Bullets, energy blasts, explosives, all focused on the pulsing crystal. The chamber filled with light and fire as the core cracked, splintered, and finally shattered with a scream that shook the stars. The nest roared in agony. Its walls convulsed, its towers collapsed, its tendrils writhed in death. The thousands of glowing orbs shattered one by one, releasing the trapped minds in waves of light. For a brief moment, the chamber was filled with the voices of the freed, whispers of thanks, sighs of peace before they vanished into silence. The girl fell to her knees, her silver glow flickering like a dying flame. The pilot rushed to her side, catching her as she weakened. Stay with us, he begged. She looked up at them, her eyes soft, her voice faint. Do not grieve. You gave me what I wanted most. Freedom. I am not afraid anymore. Her glow dimmed, her body fading like smoke in the wind. Her last words lingered as a whisper. The sky hunters are not gone. Only waiting. Be ready. And then she was gone. The chamber collapsed around them, but the humans rushed back to their ship, barely escaping as the entire nest imploded behind them. The living ship screamed one final time before breaking apart into nothingness, its ashes swallowed by the void. In silence, the human ship drifted free. The crew sat together, exhausted, their faces heavy with loss. None of them spoke for a long time. Finally, the soldier broke the silence. She was right. We had to do it. The pilot stared at the stars, his jaw tight. Doesn't make it easier. The scientist whispered, we freed them. All of them. Even her. The engineer nodded, his eyes burning with determination. But her warning, the sky hunters. If this was only one nest. The soldier stood, his gaze fixed on the endless dark. Then Earth must be ready, because next time they won't send a prisoner. They'll send an army. The ship turned back toward the blue glow of Earth, carrying both victory and sorrow. The humans had destroyed the sky hunter's nest, but the war had only just begun, and in the silence of deep space, far beyond their sight, something stirred, vast wings unfolding, eyes burning like stars. The sky hunters were watching.